Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab was considered the world's most dangerous toy, which was released in 1950 by an American toy company called the A.C. Gilbert Company. It was manufactured in the United States and sold in American toy stores and catalogs. The set used real radioactive material including a Geiger counter, a cloud chamber, an electroscope, and 4 samples of actual uranium ore. The set also included a comic book-style manual called Learn How Dagwood Splits the Atom, meant to make nuclear science feel fun and accessible. It was marketed as an educational tool during the peak of the atomic age. But there was a hidden problem. Each sample had tiny amounts of uranium-238, a material that gives off alpha radiation. Alpha particles can't go through skin, but they can cause cellular damage, leading to radiation sickness and increased cancer risk over time if inhaled or ingested. The warning label said not to open glass samples, but in real life, the glass was thin and easy to break, and some kids might not read the warnings. Over time, concern grew among scientists and health professionals. By the early 1950s, atomic energy was under closer scrutiny, and the idea of children playing with uranium started to feel a lot less safe. Though there were no confirmed injuries or deaths linked to the Gilbert Atomic Lab, the potential for long-term health risks, including cancer, became harder to ignore. There was also quiet fear about misuse. Children could accidentally poison themselves, or the materials could be used in unsafe ways. It wasn't officially banned or recalled, but it quietly disappeared from store shelves after just 1 year due to growing public concern and declining sales. Battlestar Galactica Missile Firing Toy. The Battlestar Galactica missile firing toy was first sold in 1978 by Mattel, one of the biggest toy companies in the United States. The toy was launched to capitalize on the popularity of the sci-fi TV series Battlestar Galactica, which had just debuted that same year. The toy came in several models, including the Colonial Viper and Cylon Raider, all equipped with spring-loaded launchers that could fire small plastic missiles. They were fun, interactive, and made the toy feel exciting. The toys passed safety regulations at the time, but the small missiles were a hidden danger. They could shoot out with enough force to get stuck in a child's throat. There was no safety feature to stop them from being fired straight into the mouth or face, and that led to tragedy. In December 1978, a 4-year-old boy named Robert Jeffrey Warren from Georgia died after choking on one of the toy's plastic missiles. He was playing with a Cylon Raider ship when the missile discharged into his mouth and got stuck in his larynx. His death shocked the public and quickly raised concerns about the toy's design. The boy's death was widely reported in the media. The Consumer Product Safety Commission began investigating. By January 1979, just a month later, Mattel issued a recall of the missile-firing versions of the Battlestar Galactica toys. The company offered a free Hot Wheels car to everyone who returned them. Though only one confirmed death was linked to the toy, it triggered a shift in how projectile-based toys were viewed. Mattel faced heavy criticism and a lawsuit from parents of dead child. The company made public commitments to improve its design review process. The Consumer Product Safety Commission later introduced stricter safety regulations for toys with projectiles, requiring clearer age labeling, design modifications, and choking hazard warnings. Clackers. Clackers, also known as Click-Clacks, became a popular toy in the late 1960s. These toys were cheap to make, simple in design, with 2 acrylic balls attached to a finger tab with a sturdy string. The player holds the tab with the balls hanging below, and through up and down hand motion makes the 2 balls swing apart and back together, making the clacking noise. It was addictive and fun to play. The concern about clackers grew when some reports came out that those colorful acrylic balls weren't built to withstand the constant impact. Repeated clacking caused the material to weaken and, in some cases, shatter, so kids got hurt by broken pieces. Some children got bruises or eye injuries, and others had deep cuts. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission received dozens of complaints about broken clackers causing harm. The pressure mounted quickly on social media. Finally, in the 1970s, clackers were effectively banned. The Consumer Product Safety Commission issued warnings, and stores began pulling them from shelves. Manufacturers either shut down production or reworked the design using softer materials like rubber, which made the toy safer. Lawn darts, also known as jarts, were first released in the 1961 and sold widely across the United States and Canada through the 60s and 70s. Lawn darts were marketed as a backyard game for families. The game came with 2 plastic target rings and 4 large darts. These darts were about a foot long with a metal tip and plastic fins at the back to help them fly straight. It was supposed to be a fun game for families, especially during summer picnics and backyard gatherings. However, in 1970, after receiving reports about injuries, 10 of them from the Jarts brand, that included skull punctures, deep lacerations, and traumatic brain injuries in children when the pointed dart struck the head, chest, or face, FDA tried to ban lawn darts. But toy companies pushed back, saying the product was safe if used properly. Instead of banning it, they simply added warning labels that said, "Not a toy for use by children." But the accidents didn't stop. The turning point came in April 1987. A 7-year-old girl named Michelle Snow was killed when a lawn dart struck her in the skull while she was playing in her yard. Her father, David Snow, began a tireless campaign to get the product banned. He testified before the CPSC and brought public attention to the danger of these toys. By that time, more than 6,000 injuries had already been reported, including skull fractures and permanent disabilities. Finally, the CPSC issued a ban in 1988, making it illegal to sell lawn darts in the United States. Canada also instituted a similar ban on sales and importation of lawn darts in June 1989. Stores had to pull lawn darts from shelves, and families were encouraged to throw away any sets they still had at home. Snacktime Cabbage Patch Doll. In 1996, a new version of the famous Cabbage Patch Kid dolls produced by Mattel hit the market. It was called the Snacktime Cabbage Patch Doll. What made this doll special was this doll could actually eat plastic snacks. Kids would place toy French fries, carrots near the doll's mouth, and it would slowly chew them up using a set of motorized rollers inside its head. At first, this feature made the doll a huge hit. The idea was clever and different, and many kids added it to their holiday wish lists for Christmas that year. But after the toy was released, some serious problems began to appear. The doll didn't have any sensors to know what it was eating. That meant it couldn't tell the difference between a plastic snack and something else, like a child's finger or hair. Once the rollers started moving, they didn't stop until the item was completely inside. The issue first gained attention in late 1996, just months after release. Consumer reports began to increase rapidly. One Florida mother reported her daughter's hair had been pulled so forcefully into the doll's mouth that she had to cut it free. Another parent said her child's finger was bruised and stuck in the mouth for nearly 10 minutes. Luckily, there were no deaths or hospitalizations confirmed, but over 100 incidents were reported. By early 1997, under pressure from both the media and the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, the company stopped production of this toy and voluntarily pulled the dolls from store shelves. Customers were offered full refunds. In the aftermath of the recall, the CPSC released official guidance on safety warnings and labeling for toys with moving parts. The goal was to make potential hazards more obvious to both parents and manufacturers. They also reminded companies to conduct thorough safety testing before any product hit store shelves. The recall became one of the more notable toy-related events of the 1990s. Nowadays, some people still kept this toy as collector's item. Mini hammocks. At first glance, a mini hammock might seem like the perfect place for a child to relax on a sunny day. Kids would climb in and swing gently, enjoying the sun. Priced at just $4 to $10, these hammocks were affordable for most families, which is why they became a popular backyard accessory for kids in the early 1990s. However, mini hammocks without spreader bars could twist easily. Kids, especially younger ones, could become entangled and strangle while getting in or out of a hammock. Between 1984 and 1995, at least 12 children were reported to have died from strangulation or suffocation while using mini hammocks. The problem gained national attention in the mid-1990s after several fatal accidents were reported in quick succession. The CPSC took action. In 1996, the CPSC officially recalled over 3 million mini hammocks that lacked spreader bars. They also launched a public awareness campaign to warn parents and caregivers about the risk. Today, hammocks usually have spreader bars, stronger support ropes, and clear instructions on how to use them properly. Sky Dancers. Galoob, American toy company, launched the toys named Sky Dancers during the 1994 winter holiday season. These toys were small, colorful, fairy-like dolls with wings. They came with a pull-string launcher, and when you pulled the cord, the doll would spin rapidly and shoot into the air, flying and twirling like magic. At first, the toy was a big hit. Commercials showed kids playing happily as the dolls soared above their heads. Sky Dancers became a popular gift during the holidays, and thousands of units were sold across the U.S. But not long after the toy became popular, injuries started to be reported. The problem was with how the toy worked. When launched, the Sky Dancer didn't just go straight up. It could fly in any direction, spinning fast with hard plastic wings. If someone stood too close, the doll could hit them. The CPSC received over 170 reports of injuries linked to Sky Dancers. Children were hit in the face, eyes, teeth, and even in the chest. Some injuries were serious, including broken teeth, scratched corneas, facial cuts, and temporary blindness. Some children even did require emergency care. In 2000, after years of growing complaints, Galoob Toys and the CPSC issued a recall of Sky Dancers. Around 8.9 million units were pulled from the market. Families could return the toys and get a refund or a different toy in exchange. There weren't any big lawsuits, but the recall was a real wake-up call for the toy industry. After that, a lot of companies updated their safety testing processes and added clearer warnings about eye protection and indoor use. Yo-yo water balls. The yo-yo water ball became popular in the early 2000s. These colorful, squishy toys were sold at fairs, carnivals, stores across North America, Europe, and Australia. Each yo-yo water ball consisted of a liquid-filled rubbery ball attached to a stretchy elastic cord. Kids would swing it back and forth, making it bounce like a yo-yo. But despite how harmless they looked, yo-yo water balls soon raised red flags with safety experts. The danger came from two major issues. First, the cord could stretch up to several feet long. Children would swing the toy around quickly, and sometimes the cord could wrap tightly around their neck, face, or fingers. Because the cord was elastic, it would snap back fast, and sometimes hit the child in the eye or face. Another issue was liquid inside the ball. In some versions, the liquid was flammable or contained chemicals that weren't fully tested for safety. If the ball burst, which could happen if a child bit it or hit it on a sharp object, there was concern about children coming into contact with that liquid or even swallowing it. By 2003, the CPSC received about 400 reports of injuries, including breathing difficulties and bruises. In one case, a 5-year-old boy in Illinois was nearly strangled when the cord wrapped around his throat. In response to these growing concerns, Canada and the United Kingdom banned yo-yo water balls at the same year. In the U.S., the CPSC stopped short of banning them nationwide, but did issue safety alerts. Some states and schools removed them from stores and classrooms. Magnetix building sets. In 2004, a new building toy called Magnetix was first sold. It quickly became popular with kids who loved science and construction. These sets came with small metal balls and magnetic rods that let you snap pieces together to build cool shapes, towers, and even moving structures. It was fun, flexible, and encouraged kids to think creatively while learning how magnets work. But the issue with Magnetix building sets came to light in 2005 when a 22-month-old boy died after swallowing several magnets that fell out of the toys. Overall, 34 incidents involving small children have been reported to the government. The CPSC launched an investigation and later concluded that tiny magnets inside the plastic building pieces and rods can fall out. If more than one magnet is swallowed, the magnets can attract to each other and cause intestinal perforation or blockage, which can be fatal. This product is unsuitable for young children. In 2006, they announced a massive recall of 4 million Magnetix sets made before that year. The company that produced Magnetix, Rose Art Industries, apologized publicly and offered a free replacement program. Rose Art also worked with the CPSC to redesign the product. New versions were made with better magnet protection and warning labels, and the toy was limited to older children. After the Magnetix recall, stricter rules were also put in place for all magnetic toys. Toy makers had to make sure magnets were secure and couldn't come loose easily, especially in products for young kids. Kite Tubes. The Kite Tube was released in 2005 by Sports Stuff. It looked like a giant inflatable donut, about 10 feet wide. When pulled behind a speeding boat, the Kite Tube could actually lift off the water and fly through the air, just like a kite. Marketing emphasized easy setup, instant airborne fun, and photo-ready action shots. The combination of bright colors, simple assembly, and the lure of flying quickly made Kite Tubes become a bestseller. However, within a few months, hospitals began reporting over 30 serious injuries linked to the Kite Tube. Riders were being slammed into the water, flipped at high speeds, or even thrown straight up and dropped from frightening heights. People suffered broken necks, chest injuries, punctured lungs, jaw fractures, and concussions. Tragically, at least 3 people died in separate accidents. In July 2006, after growing public concern and media attention, Sports Stuff voluntarily recalled over 19,000 Kite Tubes. The company also issued an apology and launched a free replacement program, encouraging people to return the toy in exchange for a safer product. They stopped making and selling the Kite Tube immediately. The recall was supported by the CPSC, which warned families not to use the toy and shared safety alerts with water sports communities around the country. Boating safety experts also raised awareness about the risks of towable flying inflatables in general. Today, the Kite Tube is no longer sold in stores. Safer versions of water towables exist, but none are designed to fly. The story of the Kite Tube is often used in safety courses. CSI Fingerprint Kit. In 2007, a toy called the CSI Fingerprint Examination Kit hit store shelves. It was created by Planet Toys, based on the popular TV show CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. Inside the box, kids found tools to lift and examine fingerprints, just like real crime scene investigators. It included brushes, fingerprint powder, tape, evidence cards, and instructions. For fans of the show and young aspiring detectives, it seemed like the perfect gift. The problem of this kit was discovered when the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization, ADAO, tested fingerprint powder of some kits. They found asbestos in 6 of 8 samples. Asbestos is a mineral that was once used in many products for its heat-resistant properties. But over time, scientists learned that asbestos fibers can be deadly. When inhaled, these tiny fibers can stay in the lungs for decades and cause diseases such as lung cancer, asbestosis. They immediately warned parents and called for the toy to be pulled from shelves. There were no reports of injuries at the time, but the long-term risks were too serious to ignore. Experts said even one exposure could be dangerous, especially for children whose lungs are still developing. On December 21, 2007, Planet Toys issued a stop sale notice and voluntarily recalled all CSI Fingerprint kits. In April 2008, a California asbestos awareness group sued CBS Corp., Planet Toys, and major retailers for selling asbestos-tainted toys. A proposed settlement later offered refunds to affected consumers. In the aftermath, the CPSC updated guidelines to require comprehensive chemical screening of small particle materials. Manufacturers now certify powders are asbestos-free before sale.